There is a sacred rhythm to this universe, a pulse, a silent intelligence that governs all things. You see it in the tides that rise without prompting, in the stars that burn without striving, in the seasons that shift not with force but with flow. And just as the ocean never questions how it shall return to shore, and the moon never asks how it shall reflect the sun, you, beloved soul, were never meant to bear the burden of how. You were not created to micromanage miracles. You were never asked to figure it all out. The oak tree never asks how it will grow. Its only task is to allow the seed to surrender to soil. And so must you let the infinite intelligence that breathed you into existence carry the unfolding of your path. The ego will tell you that you must control, plan, strategize, hustle, outmaneuver life itself. It shouts from the rooftops, you must know the way, you must master the how. But the soul, the soul whispers something softer, something holier. The soul says, trust, release, let the universe handle the how. When you surrender your insistence on controlling every detail, you make space for the divine to work miracles in dimensions your mind could never comprehend. You create room for synchronicity, for alignment, for grace. And grace is not something you earn, it is something you allow. Consider the caterpillar. It does not construct blueprints for wings. It does not draft flight plans. It simply follows the ancient call within and enters the stillness of the cocoon. It dissolves into formlessness, into the unknown, and in that sacred surrender it becomes something new. It does not handle the how. It trusts the process. So must you trust. Let go of the tight grip. Let go of the timelines. Let go of the compulsive need to make sense of the mystery. You were never meant to carry the how. You were meant to carry the faith. And this is not weakness, it is wisdom. There is a humility that comes when you realize the same force that spins galaxies is already orchestrating your life. There is peace in knowing you are not the architect of every detail. You are the vessel through which divine order flows. Your job is not to force doors open. Your job is to knock and listen, to dream and allow, to show up and surrender. You were born of stardust and breathed into form by the same source that crafted oceans and galaxies. Do you not think that this source knows your needs? Do you not feel that it holds your heart with more tenderness than any plan your mind could make? Stop trying to map out the mountain when the path reveals itself one step at a time. Stop measuring the distance between here and there when the journey was never about distance, it was about depth. The unfolding was never linear, it was sacred. Designed to bring you home to the present moment where all power lives. When you let go of how, you remember who. You are not the planner. You are the participant. You are not the conductor. You are the music. You are not the architect of the mystery. You are the dance. And the more you release your grip, the more life begins to surprise you with blessings you didn't anticipate and pathways you never imagined. Because the universe is not limited by your logic. It speaks in dreams and symbols and perfect divine disorder that leads you exactly where you are meant to go. So often we pray and then panic. We ask for signs and then try to script them. But the sacred does not respond to anxiety. It responds to surrender. The flowers do not bloom by pushing through the soil with force. They bloom by allowing the light to reach them. You do not heal by understanding every step of healing. You heal by allowing what is to be enough. And that means sometimes not knowing how the money will come, how the relationship will unfold, how the dream will be fulfilled, but choosing to believe anyway, because belief is the soil where miracles grow, faith is the water, and surrender is the sunlight. When you let the universe handle the how, your energy shifts from desperation to devotion, from striving to receiving, from noise to knowing. And in that shift, life rearranges. You become the lighthouse, not the lifeboat. You stop chasing and start attracting. Not through manipulation, but through magnetism. Not because you grasped harder, but because you released deeper. This is the secret. The moment you stop demanding how, the universe whispers now. Now is where the door opens. Now is where the peace returns. Now is where your breath becomes a prayer. Your presence becomes power, and your path begins to shimmer with unseen hands guiding every step. You were never alone in this. You were never abandoned. Every setback was a setup. Every delay was a detour into greater alignment. Every unanswered prayer was the universe's way of saying, I have something better. But you must stop resisting the not knowing. The ego hates uncertainty. It fears the mystery. But the soul is born of mystery. It thrives in the unknown. It sings in the silence between answers. And you, my beloved, are a soul, not a role. You are not here to decode the cosmos. You are here to dissolve into it, to trust that your heartbeat is part of a rhythm older than time, to surrender your fear at the altar of divine intelligence and say, I do not know how, but I am willing. I do not see the way, but I will walk in trust. I do not control the outcome, but I choose to believe in something higher, something wiser, something infinitely loving. And in that choice, your life begins to shimmer with the miraculous. The right people show up. The perfect opportunities align. Not because you forced them, but because you aligned with their frequency by releasing the fear that you had to make it all happen alone. You were never meant to carry that weight. You are not Atlas. You are the sky. And the sky never asks how it will hold the stars. It simply holds. So be the sky. Let the universe hold the how. And you hold the vision. Let the how belong to the infinite. Let the timing belong to the divine. Let the outcome belong to source. And you beautiful, powerful infinite, you let yourself be held. And it shall be done. Let the universe handle the how. Let the universe handle the how. Let the universe handle the how. And now that you've surrendered the weight of how, something begins to stir quietly, subtly, like the first golden light before dawn. A remembering, not of a new concept, but of an ancient truth that has always been within you, waiting beneath the noise of control and effort. That truth whispers not of doing, but of being, not of conquering life, but of cooperating with its sacred rhythm. It is here, in this surrendered space, that the miracle of your own existence reveals itself not as a task to fulfill, but as a gift to receive. The breath you take now was not engineered by worry. The beating of your heart was not planned by logic. They are the silent poetry of life saying, I've got you. When you step back from the mechanics of control, you begin to feel this soft current of grace pulling you always toward your higher self. There is no need to chart the wind when you are the sail in the sea. Life was never a problem to solve. It is a mystery to experience. And the more you lean into this, the more you realize the doors you tried to force open were never locked. They were waiting for your stillness to find the key within. That key is not control. It is alignment. It is presence. It is the quiet power of saying yes to what is without needing to redesign it. What if your unanswered questions are not punishments, but pauses placed with precision to awaken a deeper listening? What if the delays are divine pauses, soft hands holding you back, not to deny you, but to guide you towards something greater than your plans could contain? The caterpillar doesn't resist the stillness of the cocoon because something in its nature trusts the silence. So must you trust the space between intention and manifestation. That space is sacred. It is where the unseen does its holy work, where your energy, your vision, and the great intelligence of the universe weave a tapestry not visible to your eyes, but palpable to your spirit. It is where the seeds of your desire are whispered to the soil of the infinite and watered by your surrender. And if you find yourself in the in-between, in that mysterious silent place where nothing seems to move, bless it. Do not rush it. Do not judge it. That pause is not empty. It is full of divine activity. Just as winter conceals the promise of spring beneath the frozen ground, so too does your stillness conceal miracles not yet ready for the light. Allow them to ripen. You are not waiting for the universe. The universe is waiting for you to stop doubting, to stop questioning the process, to stop interrupting grace with impatience. Because when you try to outpace the divine, you outrun the very blessings that are being arranged for you. Let your trust become stronger than your timeline. Let your peace be greater than your plan. And watch how the universe begins to move, not because you demanded, but because you aligned, not with strain, but with surrender. You were never meant to be the puppet master. You are the instrument. And when you are in tune with the music of the infinite, life plays through you effortlessly. You don't need to orchestrate the symphony. You only need to stay open and attuned to the melody that is always playing beneath the surface. Let your prayer no longer be, show me how, but instead, make me ready, make me available. Let me become the kind of vessel through which the miracle can pour, because the miracle is never outside of you. It is never delayed, It is only waiting for the space you create when you release the demand to know. And in that release, in that sacred breath of surrender, the dance begins. Without steps, without structure, just flow, just love, just the radiant unfolding of a life lived not from will but from wonder. And wonder, dear soul, is your birthright. So here you are, open now in a way you may not have known before, not striving, not solving, but simply softening. And in this softening, something shifts, not just within you, but around you. The energy you bring to the world becomes a quiet magnetism, not through assertion, but through attunement. Life no longer feels like a mountain to climb, but a river to join, and you no longer the swimmer gasping for control, become the current itself. This is the grace of surrender, not a falling apart, but a falling in, into truth, into stillness, into the sacred embrace of what already island. You begin to notice that what you once called uncertainty is actually spaciousness. What you once named confusion is merely the absence of ego's voice. In that silence, the soul speaks not in sentences, but in sensations, not in answers, but in alignment. And the message is always the same: you are not lost. You are being guided, not by maps, but by resonance, not by blueprints, but by the quiet tug of your own heart when it remembers the way home. And the way home is never paved with guarantees. It is lit by the lamp of faith carried not in the hand, but in the breath. Faith not as belief in outcomes, but as trust in essence. The kind of trust that says, even this has meaning. The kind that blesses the detour, that smiles at the delay, that walks the foggy path with eyes closed and heart wide open. Because what you truly seek is never on the other side of certainty, it is on the other side of surrender. And so, when you feel the urge to control rising like a storm, place your hand gently on your heart and whisper to yourself, let the wind move me, because the wind knows. The wind that shaped mountains and carved valleys carries your dreams too, not with pressure but with purpose, not with force but with faith. And oh, the beauty of a life entrusted to that wind. It doesn't move in straight lines, it doesn't always explain itself, but it moves with wisdom, with compassion, with infinite timing. And in that movement, it sculpts you not into what the world expects, but into what your soul has always been. You begin to feel less like a seeker and more like a vessel, less like someone searching and more like someone surrendering to be found. You no longer push to manifest, you open to receive. And that receiving is not a passive act. It is the most courageous thing you will ever do. To be open, to be soft, to be guided by something larger than logic and kinder than fear. For in this sacred openness, you remember, it is not your job to chase, it is your role to become, not to become worthy, not to become more, but to become aligned with the unspoken truth that everything conspires in your favor when you no longer insist that it follow your script. Release the script, release the performance, release the idea that success is measured in outcomes, and start feeling the truth that success is alignment with your own spirit. That is the real prosperity. Not in what arrives, but in how deeply you trust before it does. Not in what is built, but in what is remembered while you wait. And as you walk through this life with that remembrance, you become unshakable, not because you are invulnerable, but because you are surrendered. Because your foundation is not built on circumstances, but on consciousness. Not on outcomes, but on oneness. And in that oneness, beloved, you are never alone. You are carried. You are held. You are guided not by what you understand, but by what you feel when you stop trying to understand. This is the divine choreography. And your only part is to show up in love and let the universe handle the how. And so the path unfolds not by force of will, but by the quiet unfolding of your willingness to trust. The sky does not reveal the entire journey to the sun. It opens moment by moment, cloud by cloud, ray by ray. And just like the sky, your life is not a puzzle to be solved, but a canvas that reveals its beauty only when you stop trying to paint the whole picture in one stroke. The soul does not need deadlines, it needs depth. It needs space to breathe, to listen, to feel its way forward without the pressure of performance. Because beneath all your goals, all your striving, all your questions about timing and direction, there is something even more important, awakening a relationship with the divine that no outcome could replace. You are learning the art of sacred partnership, not just with people, but with life itself. It is not a transactional relationship, it is a devotional one. You are not bartering with the universe, you are becoming one with it. And in that oneness, something extraordinary begins to happen. Life stops feeling like a struggle to overcome and starts feeling like a conversation. A whispering dialogue between your heart and the heart of the universe. Every intuition becomes a message. Every longing becomes a doorway. Every silence becomes a sanctuary where divine instruction pours in without words. You no longer ask, what should I do? But instead, who am I being? Because the answer is always found not in action alone, but in embodiment. Be the peace before peace arrives. Be the love before it is returned. Be the abundance before it is visible. And when you become it, truly become it, the need to control how it comes dissolves. You realize that what you're attracting is not being summoned by force, but by frequency. This is the shift. From manipulation to magnetism. From needing life to obey you, to dancing with it as an equal. From resisting the flow to riding it with reverence. And the more you trust, the more the signs begin to multiply, not because the universe wasn't speaking before, but because now you are finally listening. You're no longer looking for neon answers. You're paying attention to the whisper of a leaf falling at your feet, the way a stranger's kindness mirrors your prayer, the perfect timing of a song that reminds you you're not alone. And that, dear soul, is not coincidence. It is confirmation. It is the echo of the divine saying, you are on the path. Keep walking. I've got the how. Let that truth settle into your bones. Let it become your inner compass when the world feels uncertain. You don't need a forecast when you are grounded in faith. You don't need clarity in the sky when you've cultivated stillness in your soul. And from that stillness, watch how life begins to respond, not because you pushed harder, but because you stopped pushing entirely. You let go of the reins and let the current carry you not into chaos, but into coherence with the rhythm that formed you. This is not abandonment of responsibility. It is the assumption of your highest responsibility, to be in harmony with the source from which all things arise, to know that you are not the doer, but the doorway. And through that doorway, everything flows. Not always according to your plan, but always according to your purpose. So trust this flow, sacred traveler. Let your life be a living prayer, not of performance, but of presence. Let your breath be your agreement with life. Let your heart be your offering. And let the mystery unfold as it always has, not on your schedule, but in your soul's divine timing. Because the universe is not waiting for your control. It is waiting for your surrender. And when you finally give it, not just with your words, but with your being, you will find yourself not at the destination you imagined, but at the exact place your spirit has always longed to be. Whole, held, home. And so you walk not with haste, but with holiness. Not because the road is clear, but because your heart is finally soft enough to be guided without needing to know what's next. You are no longer the stormer of gates, you are the keeper of peace. And in this peace, your life becomes a silent revolution, not of action, but of essence. You are beginning to realize that you do not create reality by wrestling with it, but by resonating with it, by becoming the energy you wish to receive. By living in harmony with the unseen patterns that govern the stars in your soul alike, you no longer seek to bend life to your will. You seek to bend inward to the will of life. And here, where surrender becomes strength, you begin to move differently. You speak with more silence between your words. You love with less fear wrapped around your giving. You pray not with pleading, but with presence. Because now you know that you are not being tested, you are being trusted. Trusted to carry the light within you without explanation or applause. This is the quiet power that moves mountains, not because it fights them, but because it no longer sees them as obstacles. It sees them as teachers. It knows that every delay is not denial, but divine redirection. Every not yet is a seed gestating in the dark. Every no is preparing you for a greater yes that only grace can author. And when your ego mourns what it cannot control, your soul rejoices because it knows that the relinquishing of control is the invitation for miracles. So keep walking, keep breathing, keep trusting, even when nothing makes sense. Especially then, because it is in the darkness of unknowing that the stars of divine guidance shine the brightest. Do not fear the quiet chapters. They are where the foundations of your next becoming are poured. Do not rush the process. You are not behind. The river of life has no schedule, only sacred flow. You are not here to earn your place. You are here to embody your place. And when you do, when you surrender your resistance, your urgency, your demand for clarity, what arrives is not what you imagined. It is better, it is truer, it is authored not by fear, but by love. And that love has never forgotten you. It never required your perfection. It only waited for your permission. The moment you said, "I don't need to know how," the universe replied, "now you're ready to receive. And receive you shall not because you forced it, but because you became it. Because you finally stepped out of the way and let the infinite take the lead." And so, beloved soul, this is the sacred turning point. The moment where the story stops being about what you do and starts being about who you are. Not the mask, not the plan, but the presence, the light. The open vessel through which the music of the universe can now play its most beautiful song. This is the end of the search. This is the beginning of trust. This is the moment you let the universe handle the how. And this is the freedom you have always been seeking. And now that you have arrived at this threshold, not a finish line, but a sacred opening, you are invited to go even deeper, deeper than belief, deeper than hope, into the holy ground of knowing. Not the knowing of the mind, which is built on facts and forecasts, but the knowing of the soul, which needs no evidence, no outcome, no permission. It simply knows because it is already one with the source. This knowing lives in the quiet places where the world forgets to look. It lives in the breath you didn't try to take but were given anyway. In the tears you shed when you realized you no longer had to perform. In the peace that enters the room, not because you achieved something, but because you released something. The soul has always known that trying to orchestrate every detail was never your job. It waited patiently for the moment when your grip would loosen and your trust would rise like incense into the heavens. This is the beauty of letting the universe handle the how, not as a tactic, but as a transformation. You are not trading in one set of burdens for another. You are unburdening completely. You are laying down the armor of strategy, the weight of timelines, the heavy cloak of needing to know, and in their place, you pick up something lighter than air faith. Pure, untethered, unconditional faith. The kind that doesn't ask, is it working, but says, it already island. And this is not naivety. This is clarity. This is not escaping life, it is entering it fully for the first time. Because until now, you were dancing on the surface, skipping like a stone across the waters of potential. But the moment you surrendered control, you sank into the depths. You touched the eternal. You stopped trying to swim and let yourself be held. Held not by fate, but by intention, not by chance, but by design. You are not the result of random events. You are a soul with a curriculum, a sacred assignment, a divine unfolding that cannot be rushed and does not need to be deciphered, only received. The mind may still try to interrupt, but what if it doesn't happen? What if it all falls apart? And to that the soul smiles, because the soul knows that the only thing that can fall apart is the illusion, the false certainty, the rigid structure of plans born from fear. What remains, what endures, is the truth. And truth never needs to be protected. It only needs to be lived. And so you walk on not to chase, but to cherish. Each step now is not a calculation, but a communion. Each moment is not a checkpoint, but a cathedral. You begin to speak with less noise and more weight. You begin to show up not to convince, but to connect. You begin to realize that your vibration is your message. Your peace is your power. Your very presence is your prayer. You no longer beg life to deliver. You bless it as it island. And in that blessing, something sacred occurs. Life begins to mirror